Dear respected teachers, dear community, today is June the 2nd in the year 2024. We are in the Upper Hamlet Dharma Cloud Temple. We are sitting in the Stillwater Hall. So dear beloved community, today I have the opportunity to share with us the spirit of our retreat. And this is an invitation for all of us to set our intention for this precious 2 weeks that we are offering to ourselves. We may be in Plum Village, but we may not yet have arrived, and we may not arrive if we don't also set that proper intention. We can be here, but we can be in many, many, many different places at the same time. And we know that to ground ourselves in the foundation of the practice of mindfulness is, first of all, to always remember that the energy of mindfulness is not outside of us, but the energy of mindfulness, it begins from within us. The awareness that we all have is already present, but we have to set our mind to be attentive and to acknowledge that awareness and to give that awareness an opportunity to also become a part of our breath, a part of our walking, a part of our interactions. And this is just like the practice of breathing, where the breath is always there. But whether we are attentive and we are aware of the breath, this is where the practice is. So in this moment, I don't want to give you an intention. I don't want to give you an intention. I just want all of us to take a moment to reflect together in our own practice right now, in our own individual presence. What intention would I like to set for myself for this 2 weeks? What intentions would I like to bring to my mind consciousness, my store consciousness? The intention that I want to give to myself in these 2 weeks. Let's all just take a moment and listen to the heart. Hear the heart telling us what we need in this moment. And allow us to be authentic to our own intention. Thank you, dear friends. Is there any courageous warriors, mindfulness practitioners who would like to, in one line or even in one word, just say what our intention is?
Freedom from delusion.
Freedom from delusion. Let it be, let it go.
To heal.
To heal. On this side?
Clarity.
Clarity. Calm.
To be more present.
To be more present.
Samadhi, concentration.
Samadhi, concentration.
Taking care of my little boy.
Taking care of my little boy.
Mindful engagement.
Mindful engagement. From the back over there, anyone? Peace in me. On this side. Joy. Okay. I'm silence. No, I'm just trying to. Don't move, Brother Phap. Okay. Thank you, dear friends. We can hear some of the intention that was shared openly, and maybe some of that resonate in some of our own aspiration. And for each and every one of us as practitioners, each and every one as practitioner, we have a responsibility in this practice, in this retreat. And that is to contribute to the collective energy of mindfulness. The energy of mindfulness is like the nature of clarity. It offers us the lens to look at the present moment in a new way. When we generate mindfulness to the present moment, we have an opportunity to be here. And the first foundation of being here is to come home to the body. Coming home to the body is a continuous mastering. I see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of wonderful friends in this hall today. Many of us have practiced for over 40 years, 30 years, and so on. But this work of coming home is a continuous practice. Why? Because we're also ever changing. And we're also ever evolving. Our understanding is not limited. Our healing is not limited. And coming home to the body is first and foremost just being there and being aware if there's any tension that is there. We may collectively have energies that we have cultivated together as a society, together as a community. Whether this energy is restlessness, anxiety, fear, or anger, these energies are not ours alone. So our practice and the insight when we are taking care of this energy that is present in our body, it is also not just for us alone. There's a contribution to the collective. So understanding that this becomes also our contribution, our transmission in the present moment. Our responsibility as a mindfulness practitioner, it ripples without even seeing. I'm attentive, somebody's coming, giving space. Can we test? 1, 2, 3. I can move freely. Yeah. Thank you, sound team. Where was I? I am here. That's the most important thing, right? Okay. These moments like this, it reminds me of Thai, of our teacher. And sound was very important. But now we only have one microphone. Back in his day, sometimes he would have two microphones and all these strings attached to him. And he would walk around the hall and trying to make sure that it doesn't become a spaghetti. But now, all of this wireless is wonderful, but at the same time, we just have to master it because it also becomes an audio for the video. So, in these moments, though, I just want to share with you, in these moments when there are little hiccups here and there, be attentive what comes up. And for us in the practice of Zen, we always say that there's never a moment wasted. So even when we are waiting, such as a hiccup, somebody comes to solve the problem, we think we have to pause everything and then life goes on. As a practitioner, we see these moments as a moment to just connect and just to also see what's going on inside of us. Is it irritation? Is it annoyance? And different energies may manifest. And in these moments we go, I know you. I know you, my energy of patience. I want to be there for you and let us cultivate this together. So just like being attentive to the body, we also bring our attention to the feelings that is activated, it is awakened by the causes and conditions outside of us. And the more we learn to be aware and sensitive to our body, we also see very directly how different emotions and feelings may bring up tension in different parts of our body. My default, we all can have a default. My default when that there's a hiccup, my default is I smile. And I trained this smile. And I've trained it to be present in order to still smile to the imperfections that are there. And this for me has been a wonderful life jacket. And I'm still practicing with this. Because there's a deeper effect. It's easier to become frustrated and disappointed. And this disappointment has also been a process of transformation in me. When I first wanted to practice and become a monastic, my parents had a lot of fear. My mother was very scared because I was only 13 years old. And also, maybe the sacrifices that my parents made as a refugee, coming to a different country, suddenly your son wants to become a monastic and throw everything away, all the education that they didn't have, all the opportunities of peace and of well-being that they didn't have. Suddenly, in one view, it looked like throwing all that away. And I also touched the disappointment in the decision that I was taking. And maybe it was very subtle, but as a sensitive person, I also touched that. And there has been a deep wish in my path of practice was to show off that this is not a wrong path that I have chosen. And so there has been an energy that I carry even towards the Dharma, an energy I carry towards the practice, that I want to be perfect because I want to make other people proud, and I want them to validate my decisions that I have made. Do some of us, we connect to this? And then on our path of practice, we may meet suffering. We may meet our self, our dark side. And we may feel discouraged. And we think, oh, maybe they were right. After so long, 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, why do these energies still come up? And we feel defeated. And my dear friends, as long-term practitioner, we may also fall into the space of losing trust and faith in the practice. Why after so long do I still suffer? Why after so long do these emotions and these feelings still hijack my peace? And there was a moment in my practice I was going down this rabbit hole also of doubt, criticism, blame. And it's very easy to blame outside. But when, luckily, I had a conversation with a Dharma brother, and I was complaining why I still suffer. And the brother said one thing, and it just woke me up. And he said, it's because you practice. You can be present for your suffering. That's why you are feeling more of the energies that are taking your peace away. If you weren't a monk, if you weren't a practitioner, you would run away from all this. You would fall into the trap of pleasures, whether it is sensory, or what we look at, what we eat, consume, and we just keep running and running and running. But it's because you're practicing. Give yourself the opportunity to not think of it as a failure, but to see it as an opportunity. To look at it as, this is why I practice. And this is where I need to learn to be authentic to what arises in me. So coming home, this is why it is a continuous journey of discovering as well as unlearning to learn again. An element of our practice and an element of Buddhism is to always cultivate openness. We may already know intellectually, as well as we may already have heard many of the teachings repeated again and again and again. But the word mindfulness itself is also to remember and to recollect and to remind us of our commitment to our practice. We have to remember to be in touch with our mindfulness every day. So the practice is not a one-time off. And that's why we call it a path. And on the path that we walk, there are moments that bushes and obstacles come in, but with our awareness, with some of the practice tools, we learn to trim, we learn to move, so that the path becomes clearer and clearer for us. So our intention that we set for ourselves in this practice, the practice that we set just now, we also have to remind ourselves each day of this intention. And we may also see that our intentions can grow every day. It doesn't have to be just one intention. There can be new intentions that arises and that wakes up. And we can be an investigator. Where does this intention come from? Why is it present now? And how do I want to take care of it, be with it? Or some intentions, maybe to let go of it for other intentions to be present. So coming home to the body is already how we are transmitting. As students of Thai, every time we wear the OI jacket, it is a reminder of our commitment to practice. The brown robe, the brown OI jacket, it has a reminder that we are not alone on this practice. As well, it is a reminder that we are part of a lineage, we're part of a tradition. And it's very important to know that we are part of a living tradition. So how each and every one of us show up is contributing to that living tradition. So every time we wear the robe or we wear the OI jacket is not to show off, is not to flex, but it's actually our responsibility. How am I walking? How am I standing? How am I connecting to bring the collective insight and energy to this tradition, to this lineage? And when we see it in this light, with this responsibility, this becomes very alive for us. It becomes a continuous reminder for us. That's why sometimes form can help us set our intention. So as a practitioner, as a monk, every morning we touch our head. It is to remember that we are a monk. And so how we conduct ourselves should bring nourishment and investment to that dedication. So for all of us OI members, please know you belong to a living tradition. And that is rooted 2,600 years, but has also been renewed, reformed, reworded, so that we can see that the Dharma is not something of an ancient past, but the Dharma is still for our modern times. And where does the responsibility comes as a member is not when you sit on a stage, on a podium, and you give a talk, or you give a presentation, or you give a workshop, but our offering is in every moment. It is the service that we are also giving to this path, this ancient path, but with our insight, with our creativity, with how we are caring for our suffering, how we are caring for our peace, how we are caring for our collective body. This gives the life to this tradition. And this is very intentional why I share this, because the origin of this June retreat is to really see that this is a living tradition. And we're coming together from many different parts of the world. We're here as an organism. As an organism is organic. We have different culture, we have different languages, we have different ways we show up. And this brings the creativity and the wonders that is present in this garden of community. But there's a foundation where we all will contribute to this garden. And this is this collective work of mindfulness, this collective work of cultivating inner peace in each and every one of us, this collective work of recognizing and embracing our suffering, our loneliness, our restlessness. Because from this deep inner work that we do, this is what we are offering to us as an individual, but to this community that is present here, but as well as to the outer world, to the society. our teacher Thai, there was a moment in his life when he realized that he wanted to invest all of his time and energy to doing these in-person retreat and having a journey of 7, 8 days, 5 days together. Because he realized only when we come together as a collective that we can empower each other and remind each other of the intention that we set forth. The right view in Buddhism is the view that breaks all discrimination and touches the deep insight of interbeing to the core of humans, animals, plants, minerals, and now we can even say galaxies. And only when we can slowly unlayer the layers of discrimination, of greed, of hatred, of violence in our hearts, in our present moment, but also for our ancestors, also for the different layers of society that we are part of. That deep work is what will change the collective, that will change the world. And he realized that speaking is important, but it's not enough. It is the deep work that each individual of us, we set the intention, but we also commit to it. So I share this. So I want us to allow ourselves to be here. We may have moments in this retreat where we may feel maybe privileged that we are here. With so many wonderful conditions, so many wonderful people. Because a part of our path is to be engaged and also to want to be a part of the suffering that is out there. And we are allowed to feel the pain and the agony of the world, even in this present moment. This practice is not to spiritually bypass anything, but this practice is also to be authentic to the feelings that arises and to see also the pain inside of us. And how are we showing up for the feelings that arise inside of us? And can we generate these feelings, naming it, grounding it in our steps, grounding it in our sitting, grounding it in our breath? Because when we can really invite our energy of mindfulness to also be with the energy, whether it is anger, whether it is grief, whether it is pain. If we can be there for this in us, we have a great gift that we can then offer to where we show up. So this deep work of mindfulness, to understand it as a path and to understand deep mindfulness, we can see the interbeing nature of time in this practice also. We're in a moment in our collective consciousness where there is a lot of pain and suffering from an individual level to a collective level. And I believe that as a collective in this retreat, we can honor it, but we can also together channel this energy to each step we take, each action we make. These become our prayer. This becomes how we want to show up, how we want to take care of these strong emotions that are present in us. And this is how it transforms and becomes a language for peace work. Do not think that this moment is not peace work. We have to see the interbeing nature of time and space. And when Tai felt that this is what he can give, this is what his legacy wants to be, is the transformation and the cultivation of deep peace work, the transformation of violence inside of us, then this is a new culture that we are offering. We're not just speaking about peace, but we are learning to cultivate the peace in us and this collective. And each and every one of us, like Bodhisattva, going to the different spaces in the world, we continue to transmit this, not through just words, but through presence, through action. And a lot of us are already doing this work. A lot of us are already showing up at these places that needs us. And we also have to give us permission to also be cared for. We also have to give us permission to also take a break, to be attentive to our own capacity and energies, so that our healing has an opportunity. Because the healing can be an intention, but we have to also give it permission. Let us listen to a sound of the bell together. And all of us giving us permission to take refuge in the in-breath, the out-breath. Connecting to the individual breath as well as the collective breath.
to support our collective practice together, knowing that each and every one of us can become Dharma friends on the path. And friendship is very important in the practice. One time, Ananda, the Buddha's attendant, asked the Buddha if part of the practice is it important to have friends. And the Buddha said, friendship is the whole path of the Dharma. Even the Buddha himself, he knew he needed a community. He needed a community to remind him of the practice, to enforce him to also be very engaged in the present. And through the history of the Buddha, by being in touch with communities and having friends on the path, his Dharma became very relevant. Because as an individual, the Buddha could have just said, I did it, I'm enlightened, end of story. I enjoy life by myself. But he didn't do that. He didn't just put his legs up on the desk and call it a day. But for him, it was so important to offer the fruit of the practice and then to cultivate a whole garden. And for him, friendship was a nutriment. Friendship is a nutriment for our path and practice. And each and every one of us, we become reminders for each other in this retreat. So to collectively be here is already a gift. But as we journey on this path of practice in these 2 weeks, our way of walking should be a reminder for each and every one of us to honor the steps of mindfulness that we would like to take. Our teacher always says in Plum Village, there should only be one style of walking, and that is walking meditation. Easier said than done. And we know that every step we take on this precious planet is also our investment that we're giving back, as well as we're investing in ourselves. We know that our steps is a language in itself. When we are aware of the steps that we are taking, we know that we are contributing to the earth. The earth is always there holding us, supporting us. But can we also support the earth? Can we also support this community just by our way of walking? So each step that we take, we know that we bring our attention from our thinking and we give it the full awareness in our steps, just to feel the feeling of the steps that are taking place, and we are sealing ourselves onto the earth with each step. There's a seal that we're all giving every step that we are taking. By walking meditation, we start to also learn how to intentionally bring our steps to a space and a pace that can offer us back energy. One of the gift that I had was being Thai's assistant, attendant. And I can share with you, throughout his whole life of practice, walking meditation was where he always returned to when he needed to care for his emotions and feelings, as well as when he wanted to set an intention for himself. The walking meditation becomes also a set of intention. We have, each and every one of us, the energy of doing, of being very fast. We can check in what gear we are in Plum Village. And you know you are here on retreat. Let us monastic, we do the organizing. I know a lot of us Dharma teacher, we are holding a lot of space outside. And sometimes in retreats, we have to be very engaged in the organizations. So in this space, I'll give yourself permission and be intentional. If you catch yourself in gear 5, go back to gear 3. And if you want to give yourself even more space and time, go to gear 2, enjoying the steps, intentionally making this a habit of how to be present for each step. But of course, don't be late for activities. In Plum Village, even though we're in the Zen tradition, but there's a lot of kindness here. If you're late, it's okay. But when we come into the halls late, don't go into gear 5 to get to the cushion, because we can all hear your gear 5 coming in. Be in an electric car, silent, if you're late. If you're late, it's even more, we have to be more intentional with making sure how we are supporting the energy that is already there. But this is why we hear the sound of the bell 15 minutes earlier, so that we can know that, okay, the community is gathering. I also want to gather and offer my presence. So this is a practice of non-self here. So we may think, oh, you know what? 269 other people will show up. I can come a little later. But if all of us, we think like that, nobody is there. And then if all of us are the late ones, then the rushing energy becomes the collective energy. So I invite us to start to also practice on the level of interbeing and seeing that we are not an individual here, but how we all show up contributes to the collective. So walking meditation, it doesn't mean just to be slow in mindfulness, but giving us also permission to be slow now, I think is a gift. And when I say slow, it is not to create traffic jams in the community. So our practice as a community is also to be very attentive to the flow of the Sangha. So our teacher always says there is a practice of slow walking meditation that we can all really give ourselves time to focus one breath, one step. But when you're with a river of people, we have to also let go of that and to be one with the river. So if the river is moving fast, we move fast to be attentive and to be one with the community. Because if we are selfish and we just want to be slow, then we create a traffic jam in the community. And we may create blockages. So this practice of walking, connecting, being one, is also to see ourselves with the community. There's a lot of contradiction in the Dharma itself. We want to be very attentive, very mindful. We also have to be aware of the whole community. I'm just planting a seed. We don't have to be perfect here, but just to see this formation of Sangha. Like when the birds, the flying V, they know how to fly together. And one get tired, they know how to change. It's almost seamless. It's like nobody's giving order. There's an organism, they all just have a language. So there is like a language and a culture that is present here. And we are all contributing, and we all can set that culture, and we can really change that culture if we're not mindful. So each and every one of us, how we walk, how we show up, is contributing to that. Every time we listen and we hear the sound of the bell, for any one of us, this is our first time in a retreat, we know that the sound of the bell is an invitation for all of us to stop, to pause what we are doing, and just to connect to ourselves, and whether we can use the breath as a bridge. And when we don't say, think about the breath. We say, feel the breath. Because you can feel that breathing. So every time the bell is invited, we pause what we are doing. We relax our shoulders, we relax our hands, we relax our body, and just connect to the breath. Listen to the breath. And when we all listen to the breath, this silence becomes very noble. This silence is not suppressing, but this silence is a space of connecting. So just by the practice of when we hear the sound of the bell, an invitation for us to feel and be with the breath, that is also a reminder that each and every one of us has this capacity of awakeness inside of us. In this retreat, some of us are aspiring and will become ordained into the order of interbeing, be receiving the 14 mindfulness trainings. But each and every one of us, whether we're already on the path or not, we can read about it and we can already practice it. The transmission day is just a day that we gave it a title. This is the day you will be receiving it. But we all should already be practicing it. Even. But even if we are not receiving it, we can already be practicing it. and the order of interbeing was Thay's revision and insight of allowing community to have a very concrete practice and a concrete connection to a spiritual path. And we all have to give our flowers and our gratitude to Sister Jang Kao. Thay didn't want monastic students. The investment for a monastic student, and he was he wasn't sure about life and death during the war. But Sister Jang Kao told Thay, I don't want to just be known as a social service person, an activist in our times, our language. I want to have a spiritual path. I want to be your student. And it's from this request that our teacher formulated and put together the 14 mindfulness trainings. And 6 of them were originally ordained in Vietnam. And the first temple that Thay set up in the south was called Dharma Cloud Temple, Chùa Phap Vang. And Upper Hamlet is called Dharma Cloud Temple. We are a continuation of what was, but what is now. And Dharma Cloud Temple also goes all the way back to the first Zen master of Vietnam. And that first Zen master is named Master Tăng Hoi. And he also became a monk at a very young age. And his first temple that he also put together, that he was an abbot of, and the name was Dharma Cloud. So Thay, as a historian, he wants to bring the past to the present. And in Upper Hamlet, in Plum Village, France, we are his masterpiece. It is his greatest legacy that he wanted to leave behind for all of us, which is a community. As a young monk, he had a dream, like an actual dream, that he would always share with us. And in that dream, it was very simple. He was in his room, and he heard a group of brothers and sisters cooking a meal. And there was a lot of joy. And he came out of the room, and he asked the brothers and sisters, "Why so joyful? What is this energy? What are we celebrating?" And the monastics just said, "Oh, Thay, some of our brothers and sisters from afar are finally coming back, are finally coming home. So we would like to cook them a welcoming meal." And he woke up, and he felt overwhelmed with so much joy just from that dream. And yesterday, on arrival day, I saw his dream present in reality. We all coming from afar, different places. And when we all saw each other, and we all reconnected, there was this great joy of just being together, of just being here. Something so simple, but a lot of intention and a lot of mud that our teacher had to go through in order for this flower, one of the flowers, to be here. And this flower is not for us just to look, but it's for us to be a part of it. And this is very important. And when we can connect to this, we can connect to the teacher within us. In the Dharma, in Buddhism, we speak about the three jewels: the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And in a lot of tradition, they focus a lot on the first two jewels, the Buddha and the Dharma. But in our tradition, we shine light on the third jewel the most. And we check in on the third jewel the most. And we have to be responsible for the third jewel the most. And that is the Sangha jewel. Because if the Sangha jewel is present and alive, the other two jewels are there, are present. So in the practice, in ourself, we also carry the Buddha and the Dharma. The awakened energy and the practice that we are embarking, that is Dharma. The Dharma body is bringing morning light. In concentration, I smile. This is a brand new day, and I vow to go through it with mindfulness. So this Dharma body is yours. This spiritual practice is yours. It's here. And we all have a responsibility. The only person that can remove that is also you. The only person that can give it up is also you. But in the Sangha, we can be reminded, we can be refreshed, re-nourished, and re-empowered about this commitment, this intention that we put forth. If you have an opportunity to visit Thai's hut in the Upper Hamlet, there's a calligraphy in Chinese in his hut. There's not a lot of gifts that Thai would keep, and I can share this. And Thai is a very generous person. So if you give him a gift, he will receive, and he will give it back to the Sangha. It's very hard to give him a gift that he will say, ooh, I rock with this. But there's this 4 words that he was gifted when he was in China. And the 4 word, it is in Chinese, Thiên Duyệt Vi Thực. And it translates as Thiên Duyệt. The joy of meditation is daily food. The joy of meditation is daily food. Thiên Duyệt Vi Thực. And it's really funny because behind those words is another frame of all these bodhisattvas. And Thai just put the calligraphy over those bodhisattvas. But for him, when he saw these words, and he shared with me, Phapu, a lot of people have wrong perception that Zen has to be very strict and not fun. But in Zen, in meditation, joy should blossom. And the joy has so many layers. And each and every one of us can experience that joy in the simple presence of this retreat, but whether we see it as joy or not. Thai always says, don't take for granted what you have in the present moment. If you look with the eyes of mindfulness, you can see that there are many joys that are in you, that are next to you, and that are around you. It just depends on how you look at it. And it depends on if you are opening yourself up to what is there. Thiền duyệt vi thực, the joy of meditation, it's daily food. And here, our daily food is not only meditation, but our daily food here is also the contribution of joy, of presence, just showing up for one another. That's also daily food. And we can practice in this Dharma to know how to be fully there, to be fully present. Shift gear a little bit. Somebody who's working closely with us shared with us, dear brothers and sisters, one day I think you guys have to create a course, and it's called How to Be Human. And I also giggled like that. I just laughed. And he's like, no, brother, it's really important. There's a lot of screens and a lot of technology that's present and AI that is present. And it seems like we are distancing ourselves more and more from humans and connection. So maybe there will be a time where education, hopefully, if done correctly, will just guide us how to connect, how to be human, how to relate. And each and every one of us, we're in this in-between moment where there's a new technology that is being invested, being presented. And our teacher has a very wonderful talk on technology. It's called Technology is a Horse. If you haven't had a chance to listen, check it out. It's a really wonderful teaching. He offered it after he was at Google. And he didn't, in the light of, is it evil? He said, well, it's how do we ride this? It's what kind of intentions are we putting in our technologies, in these tools to connect. And part of our tradition is really reconnecting to the human nature that is inside of us. The human nature of love, of understanding, of forgiveness, of openness. So how do we collectively as an individual also nurture these seeds, nurture this capacity? Because this is something that is more than language, it's energies also. So how are we investing in our presence? How are we investing in how do we show up and be responsible for our feelings and emotions? How much space are we taking up also? Being attentive to all of this. So as practitioners, we can fine-tune this mindfulness of being together. I want to also invite us to, in this retreat, to see and to play with the balance of connection, being with one another, as well as giving ourselves some time for reflection, some time for you time. We have a wonderful environment that is present here to support that. There's also a wonderful community that should and can have understanding to support that. So if there are spaces where we feel we need some space, we can also share, dear friend, thank you. This is an interesting conversation, but in this moment, I also need some time to take care and to be with myself. And also to have the understanding to support each other in this space and practice. Because when we come together, like bees, it can buzz a lot, and it's very joyful. But we can also give us this permission to have space. Confession, I always ignore the tea house, because I know for me, if I go there, I get stuck there for 2 hours. So this is, I'm not saying that's a bad place. It's a wonderful place. We intentionally put it there for bridge and for connecting. But this is my practice of where I'm recognizing my energy. Where do I give it, and where do I put myself in? How much energy is that will take from me? So this is a practice. So the meditation don't only belong in the hall, but they are in every space, every corner of this retreat center. When emotions and feelings come up, as a friend, we may see somebody having these strong emotions, and sometimes we feel like we have to solve the problem for them. So it'd be wonderful. We also can show up and offer and ask if we can offer support. And ask, how can we offer support? Maybe it is just by being present. Maybe it's just by sitting with that person, acknowledging that person, what they are going through. And maybe that's enough. So to also have the responsibility of checking in and not just of assuming. So this becomes also our safe space that we are building together as a community. How to show up, how to support for one another, and also to give the space and the attention that is needed. Sometimes all we have to do is just say, oh, dear friends, I see and I know you are going through something. Can I just sit here with you? And we just show up as a friend, just to witness. And this also becomes a practice for us. Instead of when we see something that is unpleasant, we may run away from it. And we only show up when there's beauty there. And this is a practice of embracing suffering and supporting one another. And this was a real practice for me in the community. It's very difficult because we also may feel powerless. And I remember one of my learning journey in the Sangha was showing up with not knowing what to do, but just showing up. And sometimes it's so easy to be with one another when we're happy and we're joyful. But then when somebody suffer, we want to run away from it, from that. And part of me wanting to run away was because I didn't know what to do. And in my mind it's like, okay, but if I show up and I don't know how to solve the problem, then what's the point? So we put ourselves also in a position of just wanting to fix something. But what if it's just showing up as a friend? Just being human to human. And just knowing and offering them your practice, your presence, your witnessing. And maybe that's enough. So in this retreat, to also having that space, also having that courage, that warrior, that we can generate, that mountain of solidity in us that we can bring alive. So let us collectively set an intention to be together as a community, be responsible in showing up, how our mindfulness contributes to the collective mindfulness, how to show up for one another, giving space, supporting, and also maybe sometimes even asking, as well as knowing that each and every one of us, we're teachers for each other in this Dharma. We're friends on this path, and none of us is perfect. And we're all learning together. And we're keeping evolving. The journey of coming home is a continuous practice for each and every one of us. And we can be very intentional with our actions by our walking, opening the door, our eating, and our restlessness or any other energy, whatever image it can help you. For me, I always go to like the car. If I'm walking very fast, I know I'm in gear 5. Why am I in gear 5? Do I need to be in gear 5? Or can I go to gear 3? Or gear 2? Or gear 1? And this is also being attentive to oneself and intentionally shifting ourselves into the space of practice also. And what is our daily food? The joy of meditation, the joy of community. And Thai has written, mindfulness is a source of happiness. And not to take for granted the simple moments that are present for us and around us. We are part of a living tradition. And Thai is not something of the past. Maybe his physical presence is of the past, but his teachings and his transmission to each and every one of us is a living energy that we all are cultivating. I wish you all a very wonderful retreat. Thank you so much for coming home, coming to this space and offering your presence, your smile, and your energies.